Wayday Parker for 50. Wow. Canadian dollars. Wow. Thank you so much. Says, what does the panel think will be the effect on Cruise's MI7 Part 2, if any, with how Part 1 performed? All right, let's get Wade his money's worth here. What is the effect on MI7's Part 2, if any, because of how Part 1 have performed? It's crossed the $500 million mark, right? It's not it's not great for the film yet, but I still stand by that it's likely to have some legs still moving forwards. And it will be the secondary revenue streams that make it. But do you think that there'll be any issue with this? I don't know. I mean, Tom, you were pretty harsh on this, weren't you? Actually, on MI7. So, what do you think of this? I think your opinion would be an interesting one to hear from first.
I wasn't so much harsh as I was just like
Oh,
part of
yeah, maybe
what people. Well, I wasn't like glowing over it either. I think part of what people mistook or thought was going to be a huge hit was because of Tom Cruise and Top Gun 2. And my argument was that Tom Cruise wasn't the anomaly, Top Gun 2 was. And that
Yeah.
when it comes to Mission Impossible, it may not even be so much a damning of Tom Cruise himself as a movie star, but as a fact of, I just said that, look, all these MI movies are no different than the Transformer films. Are they better? Yes. But at the end of the day, they are literally the same plot points over and over and over again, to where people kind of get sick and tired of the same thing. Like, especially like Toxic Man Flew on our Thursday night show made this point, and he's correct with that, and saying that the biggest problem of this movie was they showed me all the big stunts in the trailers already. There's nothing that's saved for the movie proper anymore. And that's been, kind of the problem with a lot of these topics. So by the time we get to the 7th film, of course people know what to expect. They know they've seen the big stunt work. They know if they wait 3-4 months, it'll be on streaming. At this point, I don't think the incentive was there to get people out to theaters to see it. I don't know what other factor it could be other than that. I mean, the movie itself was fine. There was nothing wrong with the movie per se. It just, I think fatigue of these type of big bloated films is what the problem was really at the end of the day, if I had to take a guess.
It's quite long, wasn't it? I can't remember how long it was. It was quite a long film.
Like 2 hours and 40 some minutes, I think, altogether. Wasn't it, Culture? Correct me if I'm
wrong. It was well over 2 hours, so it's true.
I think calling it Part 1 is actually part of the issue as well.
I think so.
Yes and no. I think yes, it caused people to wait because they will want to wait for Part 2 to come out, and they'll just watch Part 1 on video and then go see Part 2.
That's what I was about to say, is that there's no incentive. They will watch it as it comes up to Part 2's release,
right,
at home, to see if it's worthwhile finishing the story by watching Part 2 in
But one thing I do know is, like, the biggest gripe of Spider-Verse was most people were not aware that it was a 2-parter. So there was a lot of people that were upset that movie ended on the cliffhanger that it did. So I think them letting folks know was what at least staved off anybody going, well, it was only half of a freaking movie. Like, that would have been a problem, I think, going into it, if had people not known.
But I never felt like half of a movie to me. It felt like it sort of wrapped up quite nicely as a story. They could have still left it on the stinger, but still called it something else, I think, in fairness. But I don't know.
But see, I would agree with you that calling it Part 1 was part of the problem for its appeal. The other problem was the window it was in, because it really suffered from its placement. And then it suffered from the fact that it didn't get those big premium screens for any more but those, initial days, because you had Oppenheimer that had it all locked up.
Yeah.
You had, several big films that were playing off of each other at that time. And you did have a 2 hour and 43 minute runtime. So, I mean, it didn't get the kind of legs that it needed. It really only had maybe 3 weeks worth of legs. It was in theaters for an average of like 4.5 weeks. So it wasn't in theaters very long. And,
it's still in theaters now, isn't it? Pretty soon
I have no idea. I know that it lost a ton of screens rather quickly. So it just costs too much. I mean, that's
Barbie, I think, cost it whatever legs it was going to have too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
mean,
didn't mean to interrupt culture, but yeah.
No, you're right. I'm with you. Like I said, Oppenheimer, Barbie. I think that they kind of shredded it.
And
Yeah.
Sound of Freedom, lest we forget.
Yeah,
That's
Sound
true.
of Freedom, and
That's
that was my big two. I pointed
That was
out
the
that-
big one, I think.
because to be honest with you, yeah, you're right, Andre. Because a lot of the people that would have gone to see this were going to see Sound of Freedom instead. Sorry, go ahead, culture.
No, just to wrap it up. What encourages me, especially for part two, Wade, is this. You're gonna see people watch part one on streaming and go back and finish this up in the theaters because it's going to be better if you see it on a big screen. But what also encourages me to think that way is the fact that the film itself did exactly what it needed to do in terms of market performance. It didn't get the money it needed, but it looked like the way the market broke down was exactly what you want on a blockbuster. You want 1/3 coming out of the North America market and the other 2/3 coming out of the international market, because it performed rather well internationally. And so if you look at the way that breaks down in the percentages that you're looking for, that kind of gives me hope, because it didn't only play in one place, right? It didn't only play in the UK, or it didn't only play in Europe, or it didn't only play in Asia, right? It played everywhere exactly the way it should demographically. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.